when I heard from other women that they're going through the same thing I am, but nobody's talking about it, that's when I realized how important this discussion is and in finding solutions to those who are looking for it. Thank you so much for joining us today on Second Act TV. I'm so happy to introduce a new content expert to Second Act, sexual health advocate, and the CEO and founder of LUMISQUE Skincare, Lana Kerr. Lana, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Silka, for having me and inviting me to your platform, to your station this day, this beautiful day.
Well, this is a important topic that I want to discuss with you today. A big quality of life issue, and that is sexual health, in particular female sexual health. Your skincare line, and yeah, by the way, if you're thinking, why is Lana on this program? Because she can possibly be 50. Let me assure you, you are very over age appropriate for this program. You look fabulous, but we'll talk about your skincare line another day. What your company does that I'm so particularly interested in is a vaginal rejuvenation product. And again, we'll spend more time on that in another segment. What I want to talk about today is why this is important. This is such an important topic that we don't talk about. As I said, it's a quality of life issue that we can't even talk to our doctor about this. So I want to throw it over to you. What is it about vaginal health that we need to understand, both women and men?
Well, first of all, what is it that we need to know is that, like every part of us, we age. But I think just even going back to where you started in that, why is the conversation so tough? And as much as it's it's a fact of aging. I mean, we accept that we age everywhere else. Why can't we understand that and the implications of that and how it can impact on the quality of our lives, especially as we go on into our 50s, 60s, 70s? But I think it starts, Silka, from just our concept and how we're all raised, as particularly my generation, perhaps, our generation. So I think that's where the conversation should start, because I think if we start from that point of view, as mothers, we can help our daughters to see things differently, even from in their 20s and 30s, so that when they're our age, they won't have the challenges that we possibly have experienced in our lives because of the absence of this conversation.
Yeah. And let's be real clear about the challenges. And I've been very transparent on this because I went through this after 50. We start having painful sex and we really don't know why. And when we do, it's something that we don't want to tell our partner. As I said earlier, we don't want to talk to it about our doctor even. And it's because our vaginal walls are thinning.
Yes.
I had no idea. I mean, I'm an educated woman, and I learned this after 50, what that even means. Talk to me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's interesting, and the same for me. For me, it wasn't necessarily painful sex yet, and it would have ended up there, but it started with just a lack of, or less sensitivity or less enjoyment in sex. And I think as we get to this age of our life, most women are comfortable as to who we are. We want to take control. We're in a habit of taking control over so many aspects of our lives, and then we start experiencing these changes. And I think unless we're really honest with ourselves, we don't even want to address it. But yes, for me, it started with just a lack of sensitivity. And I remember going to my gynecologist and just sharing this with her. It was actually a difficult conversation for her. It was actually more difficult for her in the vagina business. Sorry if I don't know if I to even talk to me about it. She was uncomfortable, and I thought that was odd. But anyway, then it's not so odd because when you recognize the age that she was and how we all grew up. But anyway, nonetheless, she did say that, Lana, you're not having a dryness issue. As you get older, you're going to feel less. And so either get used to it, or at that time she had a laser device and she says, you know what, we can come, you can set another appointment and you can do this laser, but you really don't even need it. I had another conversation, very interestingly, this year, with when I went for my gynecologist checkup. This is a different gynecologist, and she even said to me, because we talked about bioidenticals, and she's not a big advocate of that, and she was like, Lana, what's the big deal with sex anyway? I mean, as we get older, can't we just get used to it? I mean, we can find other things that we can enjoy. So, and that struck me as an odd conversation too. But that is seems to be the norm, and even talking to women now more and more, because I'm in this business of vaginal health, and helping women to actually reclaim that youthful part of themselves. Talking with them, it's embarrassing for some women. I'm not embarrassed anymore, maybe because I recognize that it's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's something, and it's a part of us that's very sacred. I give it the respect and reverence that it deserves. So it's not like I'm talking about it with any profanity or anything that's disrespectful. But it's just like I talk about my shoulders hurting me, and I can say to you, something, Silka, my shoulders started hurting me. Why is it that a woman can't say, my vagina is not functioning the way I'm feeling this when this happens?
Right. Well, you brought us up so many good points that I think so many of our listeners will identify with. Certainly love the women. And this is such an important conversation for men to hear, because women are so hesitant to talk to their partner about it. They don't want to make their partner feel bad if they're experiencing painful sex. And you brought up another really, really great point, is that many of the gynecologists of all, things don't want to talk about it. In fact, there's statistics that show when women do go to the doctor to talk, and get sexual health information, that wasn't the reason they made the appointment. It's something that happens there when they sort of lead the conversation into it. And it's that normalizing these conversations are so important. That's something that's always been really important to me on this channel, and why I'm so happy that I found you, that we can discuss this. And going back to something else you said, that you hadn't gone down the route of painful sex. I was way past it. And one of the reasons was because I was in a sexless marriage for 10 years. And this is another thing that men and women, a lot of us absolutely don't know, and I was one of them, that there is a use it and lose it proponent to sex. If you don't have penetration with something, you are going to lose your ability to have healthy vaginal walls. This is so important, and nobody talks about it.
Yeah, I agree. It's like any muscle in our body. If we don't use it, we're going to lose it. And the reason blood flow is so important to maintain vaginal health. Blood flow is essential really for all our skin. I mean, there was an article last month in February in Allure magazine just talking about vibrant skin. And when we think about skin, most people just think of the skin on their face and the neck. What we don't think about is that there's skin between our legs. That skin is very important. And it's the same principles apply, that just as much as we're taking care of our skin on our face, we're creating blood flow through exercise, through products that stimulate that, and that's why it's going to maintain youthful skin. It's the same thing down there. What are we using to stimulate blood flow? And if we're not sexually active, then oftentimes, if that's the only way that blood flow is happening for us, or only way we're stimulating it, then, as you mentioned, it's going to shrink, and it's not going to be as enjoyable. And so it's very important. I think as I was listening to you, and just thinking also, I think it's painful sex is definitely something. But even before that, you talk about a sexless marriage. Oftentimes, even in relationships that are good, it doesn't involve that, because a woman is not necessarily into it. But there's a reason for that. It's like, why? What we think when we're in our 20s and 30s, oh, that's a big thing. Going to our 40s and 50s, it shifts. Mm-hmm. There's a reason for that, and there are many reasons for that, but certainly there can be a physiological reason that is preventing us. And if we don't have the relationship with our partner to say, listen, I'm feeling differently about it. I'm feeling differently. Let me investigate why. Mm-hmm. Then we won't even investigate solutions.
Right.
You see, and I think that was what happened with my marriage, is that I had reached to the point, just in our relation, where we were talking about so many things. I was beyond the point of thinking that if we had this conversation, it means that I'm putting blame on him, or something is wrong with me, or something's wrong in our relationship. I understood, and it took a long time for me to understand, that frank conversations with my husband, it doesn't mean that we're going to have a fight and we're going to leave, or that I'm unhappy, but life throws things at us, and so we need to address it. And so if we're feeling something different, even in our sexual life, I'm not really into it so much, I don't know why, then we can investigate solutions. So I think it starts from there. And then as we get older, we're going to see that things can change. If we didn't do the right things and we get to painful sex, then we can say, I'm having painful sex. That's why I don't want to have sex. It's not that I don't love you. And then what are the solutions? Because we're going to find that there is a solution for all of that out there. Technology is changing so quickly that there are things that we can do that addresses those very effectively.
So as you said, Lana, as we age, things happen. And even our physicians tell us that this is normal. So, we just deal with it. Again, I'm just amazed at how much I did not know, and how I was totally, hesitant to talk about it. And now I'm talking about it to, thousands of people. We have about 3 minutes left. Take us out of the segment by giving, what are the typical issues that you hear from women that our viewers can identify with, or even that men can identify with, that if you're here, this is what you're probably dealing with?
Okay, great question. One is lack of desire, lack of arousal, lack of feeling. So they could be being penetrated and they don't feel anything. They might as well be hitting their elbow against something.
Mm-hmm.
Painful sex,
Mm-hmm.
dryness, where even if you're losing a lot of lube, that it's underneath the quality of the skin, it still irritates it. So it's irritating.
Yeah.
Those are some of the things that I think women feel. And maybe not to one degree for one woman is not the same as a degree for the other, but understand that you don't have to feel any of it. You can actually, if sex for you is going at a level where it wasn't what it used to be,
Mm-hmm.
then it's something that can be addressed.
Yeah. And, there'll be people listening, women, that, you know what, I'm kind of over the whole sex thing. I get that on this channel. I think people who watch us are more, they're the ones that want to find resolutions. And that's why we have these topics. But even if you're not, if actual sex isn't what drives you, the whole vaginal health component.
Exactly. So Silka, I'm glad you said that, because it's not just, we're talking about that, but it's not. But women who are not, they're going to experience burning vaginas. It's just like they'll sit down and it will just be on fire. They will experience, their pH will go off. So they're going to experience more vaginal, BV, or they may experience more bacteria or vaginal infections.
Mm-hmm.
So even with taking sex out of the picture, just to feel good in that area of your body is important. And I think about when I had an accident with one of my toes, and I'm like, your toe? But that toe became the focus of my life. It was caused me so much pain, and it's just my little toe.
Mm-hmm.
Any part, the body operates holistically. So any part of it that's not functioning to its optimum level, it's going to affect you. That is a big part of your body. And I feel like if you're experiencing any of those things, then understand that there is a solution to it.
Well, and you were the creator of a solution that, we'll talk about more detail on our next segment. I will link to it. It's CO2 Lift V, right?
Yes. CO2 Lift V is a product name. The website is co2lift.com.
Yeah, so I'll have all that in the notes. I'd like our viewers, please leave comments and questions. What on this topic would you like to hear more about? What are you experiencing? What can you share? Because I know for me, again, talking, what I went through, when I heard from other women that they're going through the same thing I am, but nobody's talking about it. That's when I realized how important this discussion is and finding solutions to those who are looking for it. So Lana, thank you again so much for joining me. You'll be back for more segments because I love being able to talk with you about this. And we look forward to seeing you again soon on Second Act TV.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to it as well. Thanks, Silka.
If you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe to our channel. The button is right over here. Just click on through to YouTube, and when you see the little bell right next to the subscribe button, hit that too. We'll notify you every time we launch a new video. See you next time.